Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Standard Pranams, all glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining. Lalit Mohan Prabhu, would you like to read this?
Yes, Prabhu. This slogan has 3.3.36. Whole thing. Okay. Sure, Prabhu. Although born in Muhammadan family, Haridas Thakur became a regularly initiated Brahmana as well as Namacharya by dint of chanting the holy name. According to external vision, Haridas Thakur belonged to Muhammadan family. Okay. Nevertheless, because he engaged himself in performing the yajna of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he became a regularly initiated Brahmana, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33 chapter, 6th verse. Yannamadheya Shravananukirtana Yat Pravanadyat Smaranad Apikvachit Swadopya Sadhya Savanaya Kalpate Kota Punaste Bhagavan Darshana. Even if a devotee comes from a family of dog eaters, if he surrenders to personality of Godhead, he immediately becomes a qualified Brahmana and is immediately fit to perform yajna. Whereas a person born in a family of Brahmanas has to wait until completing the reformatory process because he may be called Samskrita purified. A person who is not purified by prescribed process of samskara is called asamskrita. But if one remains kriyahina, even after being purified by initiation, in other words, if one fails to actually apply the principles of purity in his life, he remains an unpurified mlecha or yavana. On the other hand, we find that Haridas Thakur, although born in a mlecha or yavana family, became Namacharya Haridas Thakur because he performed the
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for reading. Especially want to hear the tune in this sloka. Thank you very much. So, Milacha and a dog eater, right? Prabhu? Milacha, Yavana, and a dog eater.
Yeah, Milacha means generally it is referred to the Greeks, Prabhuji. Yavanas is someone who is beyond the Gandhara, Hindu Kush mountains.
So that means
no, actually, the Vedic kingdoms, they are bounded by Himalayas on the right side, and to the southeast, like to the northeast, they have these forests. Now, what we call as this Arunachal and this one, Mizoram and all, they are all forests, Malay forests they are. So that is a big forest which covers that Bharatavarsha. And to the left, we have Hindu Kush mountains and Gandhara region. After that, it is, the Vedic traditions are not followed that much.
Achha.
So people who stay beyond this Vana are known as Yavana. There is a Vana onto the Hindu Kush mountain also earlier. If you see that Greek historians, their writings, about the Indus Valley civilization and all, they write that there are big forests there and different kinds of creatures they have seen there. So here also we have a forest, and onto the right side also we have the forest. On the top we have mountains like Himalaya. So people who live beyond these places are known as Yavana. And Mlecha means a person who likes to eat all the non-veg. Mala Icha, person who has an itch of mala. Mala means skin.
Okay. So, but there is no discrimination. That's what the ultimate point is. Krishna consciousness.
So once you take Harinam, nothing is there wrong.
That's it.
But even if you go to the Bhagavatam also, those people are none other than the sons of Yayati.
Yayati. Okay. Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Prabhupada clearly writes who is the Turkish, who is Greek, who is European, who is, what you say, Huna, everything. He describes everything in Bhagavatam.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, let us begin with Mangalacharana prayers. Om Ajnana Timiranda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled as Creation, Chapter 10. What is that title? Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. Yes, we are in 11 to 12 verses. Yeah, Mata is, yeah, Deepa Mata, please continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Tandratna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The intelligent who have understood the Supreme Lord in association with pure devotees and have become freed from bad materialistic association can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. How then could the Pandavas tolerate his separation? For they had been intimately associated with his person. Seeing him face to face, touching him, conversing with him, and sleeping, sitting, and dining with him. Purport. The living being's constitutional position is one of serving a superior. He is obliged to serve by force the dictates of illusory material energy in different phases of gratification. And in serving the senses, he is never tired. Even though he may be tired, the illusory energy perpetually forces him to do so without being satisfied. There's no end to such sense gratificatory business, and the conditioned soul becomes entangled in such servitude without hope of release. The release is only effected by association with pure devotees. By such association, one is gradually promoted to his transcendental consciousness. Thus, he can know that his eternal position is to render service unto the Lord and not to the perverted senses in the capacity of lust, anger, desire, to lord it over, etc. Material society, friendship, and love are all different phases of lust. Home, country, family, society, wealth, and all sorts of corollaries are all causes of bondage in the material world. But the threefold miseries of life are concomitant factors. By associating with pure devotees and by hearing them submissively, attachment for material enjoyment becomes slackened, and attraction for hearing about the transcendental activities of the Lord becomes prominent. Once they will go on progressively without stoppage, like fire in gunpowder. It is said that Hari, the personality of Godhead, is so transcendently attractive that even those who are self-satisfied by self-realization and are factually liberated from all material bondage also become devotees of the Lord. Under the circumstances, it is easily understood what must have been the position of the Pandavas, who were constant companions of the Lord. They could not even think of separation from Sri Krishna. since the attraction was more intense for them because of continuous personal contact. His remembrance by his form, quality, name, fame, pastimes, etc., is also attractive for the pure devotee, so much so that he forgets all forms, quality, name, fame, and activities of the mundane world. And due to his mature association with pure devotees, he is not out of contact with the Lord for a moment. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, without us, due to his mature association with pure devotees, he is not out of contact with the Lord for a moment. So the association makes a lot of difference in devotional service, right? So every week we go meet in satsangs and hear about Krishna. Ultimately, we honor prasadam. So there is a continuous process, association, sadhu sangha. Beautiful prayer, right? Sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha hai. Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. Yeah, association, power of association. Yes. Yeah, Matai, yeah, go ahead. Samyukta Matai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. All their hearts were melting for him on the part of attraction. They looked at him without blinking their eyes, and they moved hither and thither in perplexity. Purport. Krishna is naturally attractive for all living beings because he is the chief eternal amongst all eternals. He alone is the maintainer of the many eternals. This is stated in the Katha Upanishad, and thus one can obtain permanent peace and prosperity by revival of one's eternal relation with him. Now forgotten under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. Once this relation is slightly revived, the conditioned soul at once becomes freed from the illusion of material energy and becomes mad after the association of the Lord. This association is made possible not only by personal contact with the Lord, but also by association with his name, fame, form, and quality. Srimad Bhagavatam trains the conditioned soul to this stage of perfection by submissive hearing from the pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Matai, yes. Lavanya, want to read?
The power of hearing, that is the Rukmini did, right? So whatever we are doing. Yeah, translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The female relatives whose eyes were flooded with the tears out of anxiety for Krishna came out of the palace. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. Purport. There were hundreds of ladies in the... Yeah. Can you highlight that?
Yeah. Yes.
There were hundreds of ladies in the palace of Hastinapura. All of them were affectionate to Krishna. All of them were relatives also. When they saw that Krishna was going away from the palace for his native place, they were very anxious for him. And as usual, tears began to roll down their cheeks. They thought at the same time that tears at that moment might be cause of misfortune for Krishna. Therefore, they wanted to check them. This way, very difficult for them because the tears could not be checked. Therefore, they smeared their tears in their eyes, and their hearts throbbed. Therefore, ladies who were the wives and daughters-in-law of those who died in the battlefield never came in direct contact with Krishna. But all of them heard of him and his great activities, and thus they talked of him, his name, fame, etc., and became affectionate also, like those who were in direct contact. Therefore, directly or indirectly, anyone who thinks of Krishna, talks of Krishna, or worships Krishna becomes attached to him. Because Krishna is absolute, there is no difference between his name, form, quality, etc. Our intimate relation with Krishna can be confidentially revived by our talking of, hearing of, or remembering of him. It is so done due to spiritual potency. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, Lalit.
Translation. While the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapura, different types of drums like the mridanga, dhola, nagara, nagara, and dunduri, dundubi, and flutes of different types, the veena, gomukha, and bheri, all sounded together to shower him honor.
Different types of drums, drums pair. Mridanga, dhola, nagara, dunduri, dundubi. తెలుగులో మనది పేపర్లు రాస్తారంట ఈ టైటిల్స్ విజయ దుందుభి. రైట్ నేమ్స్ దుందుభి. Correct. Veena, gomukha, bheri, different types of flutes. Okay. Read this also, Prabhu. Translation as well as purport.
Okay, Prabhu. Translation. Out of a loving desire to see the Lord, the royal ladies of the Kurus got up on top of the palace, and smiling with affection and shyness, they showered flowers upon the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shyness is a particular extra-natural beauty of the fair sex, and it commands respect from the opposite sex. This custom was observed even during the days of Mahabharata, that is, more than 5,000 years ago. It is only the less intelligent persons, not well versed in the history of the world, who say that observance of separation of female from the male is an introduction of the Mohammedan period in India. This incident from Mahabharata period proves definitely that the ladies of the palace observed strict parda, restricted association with men. And instead of coming down in the open air, where Lord Krishna and others were assembled, the ladies of the palace went up onto the top of the palace, and from there paid their respects to Lord Krishna by showers of flowers. It is definitely stated here that the ladies were smiling there on top of the palace, checked by shyness. This shyness is a gift of the nature to the fair sex, and it enhances their beauty and prestige, even if they are of a less important family, or even if they are less attractive. We have practical experience of this fact. A sweeper woman commanded the respect of many respectable gentlemen simply by manifesting a lady's shyness. Half-naked ladies in the street do not command any respect, but a shy sweeper's wife commands respect from all. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Complete.
Human civilization, as conceived of by the sages of India, is to help one free from himself from the clutches of illusion. The material beauty of a woman is an illusion because actually the body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, etc. But because there is association of living spark with the matter, it appears to be beautiful. No one is attracted by an earthen doll, even if it is most perfectly prepared to attract the attention of others. The dead body has no beauty because no one will accept the body of a so-called beautiful woman. Therefore, the conclusion is that the spirit spark is beautiful, and because of the soul's beauty, one is attracted by the beauty of the outward body. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, forbids us to be attracted by false beauty. Because we are now in the darkness of ignorance, the Vedic civilization allows very restricted mixing of woman and man. They say that woman is considered to be the fire, and the man is considered to be the butter. The butter must melt in association with fire, and therefore they must be brought together only when it is necessary. And shyness is a check to the unrestricted mixing. It's a nature's gift, and it must be utilized. Haribol.
Haribol. Yes. Yeah. Text 17. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, who is the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme Lord, took up an umbrella which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Purport. Gold, jewels, pearls, and valuable stones were used in the luxurious royal ceremonies. They are all nature's gifts and are produced by the hills, oceans, etc. With the order of the Lord, when man does not waste his valuable time in producing unwanted things in the name of necessities. By so-called development of industrial enterprises, they are now using parts of gatta parcha instead of metals like gold, silver, brass, and copper. They are using margarine instead of purified butter, and 1/4 of the city population has no shelter. Gatta Parcha. Name is good. Yeah, Mathesh, please continue.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans, and the Lord, as the master of Madhu, rested on scattered flowers, commanded them along the road.
Yeah, read.
It was being heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting, because they were all for the Absolute, who was now playing the part of a human being. Purport. At places there were sounds of Vedic benediction aiming at the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. The benedictions were fitting in the sense that the Lord was playing the part of a human being, as if a cousin of Maharaja Yudhishthira, but they were also unfitting because the Lord is absolute and has nothing to do with any kind of material relatives. He is nirguna, or there are no material qualities in him, but he is full of transcendental qualities. In the transcendental world, there is nothing contradictory, whereas in the relative world, everything has its opposite. In the relative world, white is the opposite conception of black, but in the transcendental world, there is no distinction between white and black. Therefore, the sounds of benedictions uttered by the learned Brahmanas here and there appear to be contradictory in relation with the absolute person, but when they are applied to the absolute person, they lose all contradiction and become transcendental. One example may clear this idea. Lord Sri Krishna is sometimes described as a thief. He is very famous amongst his pure devotees as the Makhan Chora. He used to steal butter from the houses of neighbors at Vrindavana in his early age. Since then, he is famous as a thief. But in spite of his being famous as a thief, he is worshipped as a thief, whereas in the mundane world, a thief is punished and is never praised. Since he is the absolute personality of Godhead, everything is applicable to him, and still, in spite of all contradictions, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. This reminds me of Chaurashtakam, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that's what. Radhya Prasidh. Beautiful.
Yes. We were very much attached to that Madhava's that tune. Very much attached during 2020 Karthik. They
Yes.
released that. Super.
In fact, and now we are learning Chaurashtakam actually in our music class also for the pleasure of Krishna on Janmashtami. We are supposed to record it. Prabhuji has sent us a track for us to record and send it to him. So
once you record, send it to us also, Mataji.
Sure, Prabhuji. I'll be doing before this weekend. I'll send it.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Samyukta Mataji, please read.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. Absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapura began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in all the Vedic literatures, the goal is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Actually, the glories of the Lord are depicted in such literature as the Vedas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. And in the Bhagavatam, they are specifically mentioned in respect to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, while the ladies on the tops of the houses in the capital of the kings of the Kuru dynasty were talking about the Lord, their talk was more pleasing than the Vedic hymns. Anything sung in the praise of the Lord is Shruti Mantra. There are songs of Thakura Narottam Dasa, one of the Acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, composed in simple Bengali language. But Thakura Vishwanath Chakravarti, another very learned Acharya of the same Sampradaya, has approved the songs by Thakura Narottam Dasa to be as good as Vedic mantras. And this is so because the subject matter, the language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. The ladies who were all absorbed in the thought and actions of the Lord developed the consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, although such ladies might not have been very learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. The Vedic hymns in the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord, But the talks of the ladies were directly spoken of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appear to be more valuable than the learned Brahmana's benedictions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Lavanya.
Yeah, translation. They said, here he is the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living being merged. As if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. Purport. There are two types of dissolution of the manifested cosmos. At the end of every 42 into the
4,320,000,000,000,000 solar years.
4,320,000,000,000,000 solar years, when Brahma, the lord of one particular universe, goes to sleep, there is one annihilation. At the end of the Lord's Brahma's life, which takes place at the end of Brahma's 100 years of age, in our calculation, at the end of 8,640,000,000.
Trillion.
8,640,000,000,000.
Billion the trillion.
Solar into
Okay.
30 into 12 into 100 solar years. There is complete annihilation of the entire universe. And in both the periods, both the material energy called the Mahat Tattva and the marginal energy called Jiva Tattva merge in the person of the Supreme Lord. The living beings remain asleep within the body of the Lord until there is another creation of the material world. And that is the way of the creation, maintenance and annihilation of the material manifestation. The material creation is affected by the interaction of the three modes of material nature set in action by the Lord. And therefore it is said that the Lord existed before the modes of material nature were set in motion. In the Shruti mantra, it is said that only Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, existed before the creation, and there was no Brahma, Shiva, or other demigods. Vishnu means the Mahavishnu, who is lying on the casual ocean. By his breathing only, all the universes are generated in seeds and gradually develop into gigantic forms with innumerable planets within each and every universe. The seeds of universes develop into gigantic forms in the way of seeds of banyan tree develop into numberless banyan trees.
Yeah, I'll give it to some Prabhu. Prabhu, please start from here.
This Mahavishnu is the plenary portion of Lord Sri Krishna, who is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita 5.48 as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whose plenary portion is the Mahavishnu. All the Brahmas, the heads of the universes, live only for the period of his exhaling, after the universes are generated from the pores of his transcendental body. Thus, Govinda or Lord Krishna is the cause of Mahavishnu also. The ladies talking about this Vedic truth must have heard it from the authoritative sources. An authoritative source is the only means of knowing about transcendental subject matter. Definitely, there is no alternative. Should I go ahead, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir.
The merging of the living beings into the body of Mahavishnu takes place automatically at the end of Brahma's 100 years. But that does not mean that the individual living being loses his identity. The identity is there. And as soon as there is another creation by the supreme will of the Lord, all the sleeping, inactive living beings are again let loose to begin their activities in the continuation of the past different spheres of life. It is called Suptothita Nyaya, or awakening from the sleep and again engaging in one's respective continuous duty. When a man is asleep at night, he forgets himself. When he is what his duty is, and everything of his awakening state. But as soon as he awakens, all that he has to do and thus engage himself again in the prescribed activities. The living beings also remain merged in the body of Mahavishnu during the period of annihilation. But as soon as there is another creation, they arise to take up their unfinished work. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.18 and 8.19. The Lord existed before the creative energy was set in action. The Lord is not a product of material energy. His body is completely spiritual, and there is no difference between his body and himself. Before creation, the Lord remained in his abode, which is absolute and one.
Yeah. Samyukta మనం ఈరోజు చదివింది right? So his body, the Lord is not a product of the material energy. His body is completely spiritual and is aloof from the material energy. There is no difference between his body and himself. Before creation, the Lord remained in his abode, which is absolute and one. Expanded his energies. Right. Let us read this one and we'll close. We'll complete this. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, placed them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Purport: the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. They are of two varieties, namely Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha. The Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated souls, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode beyond the manifested mundane creations. But the Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned souls, are entrusted to his external energy, Maya, for rectification of their rebellious attitude toward the Supreme Father. Nitya Baddhas are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusory energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. They go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and plans are annihilated. At the end of a certain period, as above mentioned, this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.7 as follows: O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature. And again, when the time of creation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. Yeah, Mata, Deepa Mata, please continue.
Prabhuji, నేను చదవనా ప్రభుజీ? Hare Krishna. The word Bhuya indicates again and again. That is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything. But the living beings who are continuously, constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord and are forgetful to the sweet relation, and are given a chance again and again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy. And to revive this and to revive the living being's consciousness, the revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord. Vedic literatures are the guiding directions for the conditioned souls, so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation of the material world and the material body. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita that this created world and material energy are under my control. Under the influence of Prakriti, automatically they are created again and again. And this is done by me through the agency of my external energy.
Completely.
Okay. Actually, the spiritual spark living entities have no material names or forms, but in order to fulfill their desire to Lord, it over the material energy of material forms and names, they are given a chance for such a false enjoyment, and at the same time, they are given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. The foolish and forgetful living beings is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is the culmination of such false names and false forms. Men and mad are false name and form. The form of body obtained under a certain condition is taken up as a facial, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned souls into misusing the energy of the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue of understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and times. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for all human beings, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of life in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, people have no taste for them. and therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for repetition of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada only writes clutches of Maya, of repetition, birth and death. Thank you, Chandraval Prabhu, for joining and reading. Thank you very much. So let us conclude here. So let us go through quickly 10, 15, up to 9 o'clock. Let us practice 20 minutes these slokas. Hare Krishna, Lavish Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Anchor slokas. Okay. Let's see, Lavish Prabhu. Chalo. కనిపిస్తుంది కదా మాత స్లైడ్ షోనే కనిపిస్తుంది కదా
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Okay. Let me do it. Please correct me, Lalit Mohan Prabhu. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.52.37. Sri Rukmini Bhuvacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartalabham Tvayachyuta Vishati Chittamapatrapam Me Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartalabham Tvayachyuta Vishati Chittamapatrapam Me. ఏమైనా తప్పులుంటే చెప్పండి ప్రభు.
First time it was good, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Yeah, second time, like the tunes has gone equally.
నెట్వర్క్ సిగ్నల్ లాగా ఫీబుల్ అయిందా? ఓకే.
No. నెట్వర్క్ సిగ్నల్ కాదు ప్రభుజీ, మీ ట్యూన్ ఫీబుల్ అయింది ప్రభు.
అదే అందుకే ఇంటర్నెట్ అంటే అదే కదా, ఫీబుల్ అయితే
Zoom it's like that. So it didn't get to the tune, Prabhuji. First time was good actually.
Okay, sure. మీరు ఒకసారి చేయండి ప్రభు, అందరూ మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తారు.
Now I'll read the whole shloka. Please everyone repeat in their own way how they could do. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shrinvatam te Nirvishya karna vivarair haratongatapam Rupam drisham drishimatam akhilartalabham Tvayachyuta vishati chittamapatrapam me.
Yeah, ఎవరు చేస్తారు మాతా?
I'll do, Prabhuji.
చేయండి మాతా.
Shri Rukmini Vacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartalabham Tvayachyuta Visati Chittamapatrapam Me.
థ్యాంక్ యూ మాతాజీ. నైస్. ఇంకా వాంట్ టు డు లావణ్య?
Srimad Bhagavatam 10.52.37. Shri Rukmini Vacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatante Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilatalabham Tvayachyuta Vishati Chittamapatrapam Me.
హరిబోల్. నైస్. దీపమాతాజీ?
Yes, Prabhuji. Shri Rukmini Vacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartalabham Tvayachyuta Vishati Chittamapatrapam Me. Hare Krishna.
థ్యాంక్ యూ మాతాజీ. సో లలిత్ ప్రభు ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ చెప్పండి, అంత ఓకేనా?
Very good, Prabhu. Very good by every one of them, whoever has done till now. I need Akinchan Prabhu to get into the line.
Akinjan Prabhu and
Akinchan
Lavish.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah. Shri Rukmini Vacha. Yeah, hand on.
I have seen your dear friend Lalitman Prabhu, Lavish Prabhu also there. So you also practice with the Prabhu.
He might be in the office actually. The all the aircraft sounds will come if we open something.
Yes, Akinjan Prabhu, cheyandi.
Shri Rukmini Vacha. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shrinvatam te nirvishya karna vivarai harato nangatapam rupam drisham drishimitam akhilatalabam tvaya achyuta vishatai chitam aparatam me tvaya achyuta vishatai chitam aparatam me.
Prabhuji, I will read the second and fourth for you. You please repeat after me, Prabhuji. Huh? Akinchan Prabhu.
Yes.
If you can. Nirvishya karna vivarair harato gatapam.
Nirvishya karna vivarai harto ngatapam.
Prabhu, తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఆ అని అనక్కర్లేదు ప్రభుజీ.
ఓకే.
హరతో గతాపం అందులో వచ్చేయాలన్నమాట. ఆ పైన వస్తుందని మళ్ళీ ఆ అని మనం పలకక్కర్లేదు ప్రభుజీ.
ఓకే ప్రభు.
నిర్విష్య కర్ణ వివరైర్ హరతో గతాపం.
నిర్విష్య కర్ణ వివరై హర్తో గతాపం.
Yes, ప్రభుజీ. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తమపత్రపం మే.
త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతై చిత్తం సారీ త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతై చిత్తం అప్రతం మే.
ప్రభుజీ అది అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే. ఓకే ప్రభు.
మెయిన్ వర్డ్ ప్రభుజీ ఇది మొత్తం శ్లోకాకి. షేమ్లెస్నెస్. అపత్రపం మే.
ఓకే ప్రభు.
మళ్ళీ రిపీట్ చేయండి 2 సార్లు. అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతై చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే.
విశతి.
త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అప్రతం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అప్రతం మే.
అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అప్రతపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే. అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే. Oh, difficult.
You got it.
త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే. అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే.
చిత్ తర్వాత ఆగమంటున్నారు ప్రభుజీ.
త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అప్రతపం మే. అప్రతపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం మే. ఓకే. అపత్రపం మే. Yeah, I'll practice. అపత్రపం మే.
ఏం లేదు ప్రభు, అకించన్ ప్రభు, ఒక చిన్న లాజిక్. ఆ వర్డ్ ఎట్లుందో ఒక్కసారి జస్ట్ కొద్దిగా అటెన్షన్ గా చూస్తే అయిపోతుంది. అది ఎట్లా ఉంది వర్డ్స్? అపత్రపం అపత్రపం వర్డ్స్
త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే. త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రం మే. అపత్రపం మే.
అపత్రపం షేమ్లెస్, షేమ్లెస్ మైండ్. ప్రభు చంద్రన్
అది కంప్లీట్ గా వస్తే ఈజీగా ఉంటదేమో. తమపత్రపం మేలా.
సమపత్రపం. ఓకే.
చిత్తం అంటే మైండ్, అపత్రపం అంటే అదొక వర్డ్, డిఫరెంట్ వర్డ్ కదా.
ప్రభుజీ చెప్పేది చిత్ తర్వాత ఆగమన్నారు కదా.
యా యాక్చువల్లీ మన శ్లోకాలు చదివేటప్పుడు ప్రభుజీ మపత్ర పమ్మే అని వస్తుంది. ఇది చిత్తమపత్ర పమ్మే
అట్లా తర్వాత ఆగి సమపత్ర పమ్మె అంటే ఈజీగా అవుతుంది ప్రభుజీకి అని. సమపత్ర పమ్మె అనండి ప్రభుజీ, ఈజీ అవుతుంది.
ఓకే. త్వయ్యచ్యుత విశతై విశతి చిత్ అపత్రపం మే సమప్రతపం మే కృష్ణ.
You'll get there, Prabhu. It's okay.
స్లోగా వస్తుంది ప్రభుజీ, డోంట్ వరీ. లవిష్ ప్రభు, ఆర్ యు ఇన్ ఎ పొజిషన్ టు రిసైట్?
అది అడగండి. లవిష్ ప్రభు.
Yes, Prabhuji.
లవిష్ ప్రభుకి
జై. మోస్ట్
Sorry, Prabhuji, I am very, very lazy fellow. Sometime only.
Prabhuji, please go ahead, Prabhuji. I don't want to start your glories now. Please go ahead.
ठीक है, we'll recite Prabhu. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. श्री रुक्मणी उवाचा श्रुत्वा गुणान् भुवना सुन्दराश्रुणतं ते निर्विश्य कर्णा विभवे हरतो नृगातपं रूपं दृशां दृश्मताम् अखिलात्मलाभं तव्या अच्युताविष्टै चित्तम् अपात्रतं मे.
Lavish Prabhu, now Giriraj Prabhu will recite every line. You please repeat after him. Try to repeat in the same way, Prabhuji. Just try. Giriraj Prabhu will start. No, you start, Prabhuji. Then you will come to know.
Yes. Right. Okay, Prabhu. You want to repeat after me, Lavish Prabhu? ఇది ఒక ట్యూన్ ప్రభు. మేము లాస్ట్ days చేస్తున్నాం. We are doing Telugu. Prabhu, we are doing last 4 days. Lavish Prabhu.
Lavish Prabhu.
మ్యూట్ లో ఉన్నారా?
యా ఈ మధ్యలో ఆఫీస్ ప్రభుజీ. ఇట్స్ ఓకే ప్రభుజీ, నేను చదవమంటాను. ప్లీజ్ మీరు చేయండి. శ్రీ రుక్మిణి ఉవాచ శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భవన సుందర శృణ్వతాంతే నిర్విశ్య కర్ణ వివరైర్హతోంగతాపం రూపం దృశాం దృశమతాం అఖిలార్థలాభం త్వయచ్యుత విశతి చిత్తం అపత్రపం మే.
నైస్ ప్రభు.
చంద్రమౌళి ప్రభు, చెప్పండి ప్రభుజీ. శ్లోకాస్ కరెక్ట్ గా చదువుతున్నారు ప్రభుజీ. ట్యూన్స్ ఇంకా రావడానికి టైం పడుతుంది ప్రభుజీ. రోజు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయాలి ప్రభు, విని. అది టైం టేకింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ కానీ. ఓకే, బట్
ప్రభుజీ చాలా తొందరగా పాడుతున్నారు ప్రభుజీ. తొందరగా.
ఇంకోసారి స్లోగా పాడడానికి ట్రై చేస్తున్నారు.
లేదు, అట్లా కాదు ప్రభుజీ, మీరు తొందరగా గ్రాస్ప్ చేసుకున్నారు అంటున్నా.
వర్డ్స్.
హరే కృష్ణ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ వన్ దానికి వెళ్దాం. ప్లీజ్ రిపీట్ ఆఫ్టర్ మీ. ట్రాన్స్లేషన్. శ్రీ రుక్మిణి said her letter as read by the Brahmana. O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress. And having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see. I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O ఓ కృష్ణ.
Fix
I
my
have fixed my shameless streak upon you.
Krishna.
సరే ఇంకోటి కూడా చేద్దాం. ఇది ట్రై చేస్తా ప్రభు నేను. కరెక్ట్ మీ. శ్రీమద్ భాగవతం 10.52.38. ఇది కూడా అదే ట్యూన్ కదా. ఓకే, ఒక్కసారి చేయండి ప్రభు.
ఓన్లీ ఫర్ ట్యూన్ ప్రభుజీ, నాట్ ఫర్ ద శ్లోక. Shloka remembrance is not the goal. Tune remembrance is the goal.
Okay.
Whenever you are forget this, na, so go to the first anchor shloka. You will get it. Okay. So in the same way, try it.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోద్రవినదామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీర.
కాత్వా అన్నారు కదా, కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప
విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం. ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవినీత కన్యా. సారీ, ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా. కాళీ నృసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం. Now do individually, Prabhuji. Try it, huh?
Yeah.
Two Mataji's already got it. Rest we should pick up them.
Yeah. చదవండి మాతాజీ, చదవండి ఒకసారి. యా
ప్రభుజీ
చేయండి మాతాజీ.
ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోధ వినధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా కాళే నరసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
ఎస్ మాతాజీ, మాక్సిమం వచ్చింది. ఒక 2-3 వర్డ్స్ ఇంకా ప్రాక్టీస్ వల్ల వస్తాయి మాతాజీ. మాక్సిమం వచ్చేసినట్టే. ఏంటంటే మధ్యలో ఒకటి లైన్ లాగా వెళ్ళిపోయింది. అవి హెచ్చు తెగుల కింద వెళ్ళాలి మాతాజీ. పైకి కిందికి వెళ్ళాలి ప్రతి వర్డ్. అప్పుడు కరెక్ట్ గా వచ్చినట్టు అనమాట శ్లోకం. ఓకే.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా కాళే నృసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
హరిబోల్ మాతాజీ. డన్. డన్.
వెరీ నైస్.
వెరీ నైస్.
లావణ్య మాతాజీ.
హరే కృష్ణ. శ్రీమద్ భాగవతం 10.52.38. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోద్రవినదామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా కాళేన సింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
హరిబోల్. జై మాతాజీ. Both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Done.
They got that tune. Haribool. Yes. ఇంకా ఎవరున్నారు? Yes. చంద్రబాబు ప్రభు ట్రై చేస్తారా? అకించం ప్రభు వాన ట్రై.
నేను ట్రై చేస్తా ప్రభు.
Yes.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోద్రవినోధాం విద్యా ద్రవినధాం అభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా కాళే నరసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
ప్రభు సెకండ్ అండ్ థర్డ్ మళ్ళీ రిపీట్ చేయనా ప్రభు? నా తర్వాత రిపీట్ చేస్తారా మీరు? ప్రభు ఒక్కొక్క లైన్ నేను చేస్తాను ప్రభు, మీరు నా వెనకాల రిపీట్ చేయండి. అప్పుడు ఎక్కడ ఆగాలో ఎక్కడ ముందుకెళ్ళాలో తెలుస్తుంది. సరేనా?
ఓకే మేడం.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా
ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా కాత్వా ముకుంద కులశీల రూపా
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం
వయోద్రవినధాం అభిరాత్మతుల్యం
ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవృణీత కన్యా
ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవృణీత కన్యా
కాళే నృసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం
కాళే నరసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ, మాక్సిమం వచ్చినట్టు ఇప్పుడు ఇట్లా ట్రై చేయండి ప్రభుజీ, ఇంకా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి అంతే. యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రభుజీ మనం ఇవన్నీ ఎందుకు నేర్చుకుంటాం అంటే ప్రభుజీ, మన డేలో మన మైండ్ ఎంగేజ్ అయి ఉండాలి వీటి మీద. దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై వి డూ ఇట్. ప్లీజ్ లవిష్ ప్రభు, ప్లీజ్ డూ ఇట్. లవిష్ ప్రభు, we are doing this for knowing the understanding the tunes of it, not the shloka of it, but the tunes. Okay. So what you say, concentrate on the tune Prabhu rather than the shloka. Of course in the process you will get shloka also.
Let me try. Thank you.
So did you understand the tune? If you didn't, I will just lead you, you trail me. Is that okay for you?
Yes, Prabhu. Perfect.
So every line I will lead Prabhu, you trail me, huh?
Okay.
Okay. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా
ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధర్మాతి ఆత్మతుల్యం
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ఆత్మతుల్యం.
ద్రవిణ के बाद धामा के पास
द्रविण धाम
विद्या वयोद्रविण धामभिरात्मतुल्यम
विद्या वयोद्रविण आत्मतुल्यम
धीरापतिं कुलवती नवृणीत कन्या
धीरापतिं कुलवती नवृणीत कन्या
काले नृसिंह नरलोकमनोभिरामम्
काले नरसिंह नरलोकमनोभिरामम्.
Yeah, please try it, Prabhuji. I will send you the recordings. The day long you will try. I know. Tomorrow, if you can join, please repeat after us. Huh? You should do it by your own.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Very, very nice.
Okay, so let us repeat all the translation. Okay, please repeat after me. O Mukunda,
ఓ ముకుంద
ఓ ముకుంద,
you are equal only to yourself in age,
you are equal
You are equal only to yourself in lineage,
character, beauty,
character,
knowledge,
knowledge,
beauty, knowledge,
wealth and influence.
usefulness, and influence.
O lion among men,
O
O lion among men,
you delight the minds of all mankind.
You delight
you
Delight the minds of
minds
all
of all
mankind.
What aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl
What
Sober-minded and marriageable girl
of a good family would not choose you,
of a
good family would not choose you
as her husband when the proper
as
time,
husband,
as her husband,
when the
when the proper time has come.
the proper
Thank you all very much for reciting these anchor slokas. Prabhu, మనకు ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి ప్రభు? 16 ఏమో ఉన్నాయి, 15 అనుకోండి ఫస్ట్. సో వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ ప్లాన్ ప్రభు? అంటే ఎన్ని రోజులు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేద్దాం?
See, Prabhuji, this 2 days else we will practice and then we'll go to the next this one. Prabhu, why I am waiting or delaying this process is you should be very thoroughly with this tune, Prabhuji. Because what happens is when the other shloka with other tune comes na, everyone will mix it up. I am sure of it.
Yes,
అదే
yes, Prabhuji.
యా ఈ శ్లోక నా ట్యూన్ తో పాడేస్తారు ప్రభుజీ. ఎందుకంటే శ్లోక బై హార్ట్ చేసేస్తారు వాళ్ళు, అదే శ్లోకాన్ని ఈ ట్యూన్ తో పాడేస్తారు అనమాట నీట్ గా. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై ఇట్ is becoming so delayed, or I am repeated again and again.
नहीं जा क्या गया
అర్థమవుతుంది.
yes will do
లలిత్ మోహన్ ప్రభుజీ, మీరు అది కొంచెం రికార్డ్ చేసి పెట్టరా ప్రభుజీ ఆ సెకండ్ శ్లోక ఒకసారి.
సరే పెడతాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ. బట్
Happy
బీ వెరీ
Krishna
మచ్.
conscious birthday to your daughter, Prabhuji.
అది చెప్దామని అనుకున్నాను.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఏ మీ అమ్మాయి ఉందా ప్రభు?
For today birthday,
టెంపుల్కి వెళ్ళిపోయారు.
I didn't say Prabhuji. Sorry, Hare Krishna. Many happy returns of the day.
మీ అమ్మాయి ఎక్కడ ఉన్నారు? దగ్గర ఉన్నారా?
టెంపుల్కి వెళ్ళిపోయారు మా ప్రభుజీ వాళ్ళు. నేను ఇంట్లో ఉంచేసారు నన్ను. అంటే పాలు వస్తాయి, కూరలు వస్తాయి, అవి తీసుకోవాలి ఇక్కడ పెట్టారు ప్రభుజీ. ఐఎమ్ గాడ్ టుడే.
దేవాశ్రీ ఇప్పుడు ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాలు అంటారు ప్రభు?
5 అయిపోయినాయి ప్రభుజీ. వాళ్ళు స్కూల్కి వెళ్తారు రేపు పొద్దు నుంచి. Actually, I thought of initially 5th month, 5th day of 5th year, but year మొత్తం పోతుంది ప్రభుజీ అట్లా చేస్తే. సో 5th year starting day చేద్దామని అనుకున్నాను.
ఏ లొకేషన్ ప్రభుజీ మీరు?
మాది వెస్ట్ గోదావరి డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ మాతాజీ, తణుకు.
ललित मोहन प्रभु कैमरा तो ऑन करो.
क्या देखोगे यार, वही चेहरा है, वही कर रहे हैं.
कहाँ छुपे हो?
माया में चेहरा रहता है, कहाँ रहता है?
हाँ, देवश्री का दर्शन तो करा दो.
अरे वो उधर चली गई प्रभु जी, क्या मंदिर चली गई वो लोग.
धन्यवाद प्रणाम टू एवरीबॉडी.
थैंक यू
आफ्टर लॉन्ग टाइम आई जॉइन. సారీ.
మీరు బిజినెస్ చేసుకుంటూ ఎలా చేస్తున్నారు ప్రభుజీ? అంటే
life is very easy and very slow and very simple mataji here. It's not running, it's walking. So that's very very easy and very happy for me comparatively. पैसा थोड़ा सा कम है माताजी.
It's opening, eye opener Prabhuji for all of us to go and settle in our native places.
No, it's not that easy mataji. It's not that easy, I'm telling you. Because we are habituated for running. And myself, I have habituated from 2005 for running. It's not that easy.
What about the association, Prabhuji? Like, what?
Yeah, association is my friends, in the evening, like our basemates will take an association of online calls, Prabhuji, Mataji. So we will share our own, difficulties. It's not a spiritual call. It's like, हरि बोल, तेरा कितना हो रहा है, मेरा इतना हो रहा है, तेरा इतना वाट लग रहा है, मेरा इतना वाट लग रहा है, हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल. Then that is association which we take.
Sharing.
Yeah, sharing. So
sharing is caring, Prabhuji.
Yeah. That is the only association we take.
బాధలను పంచుకునేటువంటి ఒక గ్రూప్ తయారు చేసినప్పుడు.
No, Prabhuji, that's like-minded group actually. We have association over here, Prabhuji, but they're in a different level. I cannot completely merge with them, Prabhuji, because they are in different level and I am in a different level.
అంటే డివోటీస్ ఉన్నారా ప్రభుజీ?
ఉన్నారు మాతాజీ, 3 families ఉన్నారు ఇక్కడ.
Okay.
But let me tell you, give you an example. One is in the LIC department actually. The moment she or her family comes now, they will speak about some spirituality initially, and then they will start their LIC politics and all. I thought, yeah, it's okay. बहुत इंसिडेंट्स हो गया प्रभु जी मेरा. मैं उनको बोला हूँ 2-3 बार, but still they say कि they're in that mood, प्रभु जी, they're in that mood, so I cannot mix up with them actually. It will take some time for me to get into them, or for some time for them to get into me. The main thing is that the deities are not there in my home now. So the moment I get the deities, then the worship starts, then I can culminate them in a proper mood and all. It's like that.
సో మీరు ఏంటి ప్రభుజీ, టెంపుల్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేయాలనా లేకపోతే కాంగ్రిగేషన్ బిల్డ్ చేయాలనా?
No. Congregation center, small center, that's it. Mataji, I'm not into in a complete preaching mode like Radhesham Prabhu's mode or the Viranam Prabhu's mode. But this, lifetime changing attitudes, Mataji. Like, start up a project and, investment. I am not bought in that mode, Mataji, in Krishna. I am completely different. My spiritual counselors, they are in sustainability, Mataji, more than on finishing projects or target. They're not target oriented. Sustainable. Like every day we meet, like our friends, our basemates meet. only to discuss how we have achieved or overcome the Maya of this day. So what was the thinking or how we achieved? That's how we do it, Mataji. The only association which I have, to be very frank. And this one, like in this call, is I am giving something that Mataji, when I can take 80%, I can give 20%. It is like that. So that 80% of that knowledge and all I'm getting from my friends. So what I could give you to this 20% is. And mainly, we don't have relation with many of the devotees who are joining this call. So I cannot relate them more. What I can do is I can give what I know, but I cannot relate them more, Mataji. Yeah, I have empathy and I have all these things with them, but I cannot relate them more. Whom I can relate in this call is like Lavish Prabhu and Giriraj Prabhu and Aran Lavanya Mataji. And other than that, many people I don't know, so I cannot relate with them. Yes, I can teach them and I can teach them what I know. But yes, I can do some service to them, but I cannot relate to them. Relation is a very deep thing, Mataji, that grows as per the time. And it's only second month I am joining this call, so I cannot relate more with the people who are joining with this call.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
You are going to be very frustrated moving forward with anchor Slokas. Definitely.
So
No.
this group will anchor you.
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your wonderful association. Virtually, it's very powerful, Prabhuji.
నాలెడ్జ్ అని ఆటోమేటిక్గా తెలుస్తుంది మీరు చెప్తుంటే. ఈ రోజు డిస్కషన్ లో స్టార్ట్ అయింది యవన నుంచి స్టార్ట్ చేశారు. వండర్ఫుల్.
ముందు మెకానికల్ గా అలాగా చదువుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోతుండే వాళ్ళం. మీరు ఎప్పటి నుంచి జాయిన్ అయ్యారో అప్పటి నుంచి మాకు కొంచెం దాంట్లో ఉన్న స్వీట్నెస్, దాంట్లో ఉన్న స్టోరీస్ అవన్నీ తెలుస్తుంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ మోర్ వెరీ నైస్ associating with Krishna and relishing the pastimes. It's all your contribution.
All glories to my spiritual masters and my counselors, Mataji, because they have taken care of us. While ekkada daka take care chesarante Mataji, I cannot explain you. That's the level which they have taken care of us, you know.
మాకు మీ అసోసియేషన్ దొరుకుతుందంటే మేము ఎంత ఫార్చునేట్.
Yeah, because that is because they have given, Mataji, like they would come and do a Chappan book for us every week. That's the level of their, love which they have given to us. Dantlo 1% kuda me illapatham, Mataji. I'm always indebted to them, to my counselors. All glories to my counselors. Thank you so much for them. And let me pass all these comments to them only. Very good. Thank you, Prabhu.
So
thank you so
you
much.
Can add whenever we go through these purports, and you can share, Prabhu. Then that helps us to relish. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. I cannot share myself, Prabhu. You should ask something, then only I will open up. That is my nature, actually.
I will ask then.
Yeah, that is what I have got been trained, Prabhuji. Because my counselors, even though knowing everything, they never speak anything until unless we speak. So that they imbibed it, in what you say, not directly, indirectly to us.
Sure.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Let us pray for his daughter's, spiritual progress. So 3 times Hare Krishna mantra, then let us wrap up. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Rama Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Rama.
Our wishes to Devarshi Prabhuji.
Yeah. Please convey our wishes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
And Dandavat pranams to Mataji.
Sure, Mataji.
Monica Mataji.
Sure, Mataji. I will convey the same to both of them.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Sorry.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Lavish Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we'll wind up.
से बात कराना.
Yeah. बाद में बात करेंगे हम.
వేరే ఉంది, మీరు ఇద్దరు 1-to-1 మాట్లాడుకోండి గట్టిగా. కృపా సింధు వైష్ణవ అనంత కోటి వైష్ణవ की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. श्रील गुरुदेव की जय. निताय गौर